Our next guest says that we are living through the end of nearly 500 years of Western dominance and that within the next 5 years, China's economy will exceed our own. And it's all because the rest of the world has caught on to what made Western civilization great to begin with. Well, joining me now is Harvard professor and historian Niall Ferguson, author of Civilization, the West, and the Rest. Like the title. Good morning to you, Mr. Ferguson.
Morning, Gretchen. How are you?
Professor, I should say. So what do you mean that China is going to take us over in 5 years?
Well, it's not going to take us over. It's going to overtake us. The International Monetary Fund has China's GDP, its gross domestic product, its economy, larger than that of the United States as soon as 2016, just 5 years away. And, of course, this is one of the greatest catch-ups in the history of economics, because if you go back to the late 1970s, China's economy was tiny. This is an amazing achievement. It's the biggest, fastest industrial revolution of all time. And I think many Americans are in denial about this because it's so hard to believe that they could have done it so fast.
Not if you've seen that commercial that's out there where they fast forward and they show China laughing at us about 20 years down the road. You think it's actually going to be quicker. I want to point out your top 6 killer apps that you believe were the reason for the Western ascension to begin with. Number 1, competition between nations and within nations. They learned that one from us?
That's right. I mean, we had the most competitive economies and political systems in the Western world. I'm talking here about Europe, North America. And for many years, most Asian economies were run by monolithic empires with very little economic or political competition. Now there's so much competition in China that Wenzhou looks like a more dynamic capitalist city than any city in the West.
Okay, number 2, the rise of scientific revolution, how science was done. What did they pick up from us on this?
Yeah, our scientific revolution from the 17th century was quite unique, and really right down until very recently, the West, and particularly the United States, has led in terms of scientific innovation. But if you look at patents, for example, international patents, Japan overtook the United States some time ago, and China just overtook Germany to take third place. So the competition in science is already hotting up, and you can expect the Nobel Prizes to start going to the Chinese maybe a generation, 20, 30 years from now.
Very interesting. Number 3 is based on property rights, the rule of law.
Well, we used to have the best rule of law in the world here in the United States. Sometimes I think we now have the rule of lawyers, which is something else. What you see in the rest of the world is a dramatic improvement in the quality of legal institutions. And without a really good legal framework, capitalism doesn't work well. Hong Kong is a shining beacon in this regard. Singapore's pretty good. And we're seeing the People's Republic slowly moving in that direction. There, the Chinese lag behind a bit.
Okay. The number 4 is revolution in medicine that doubled life expectancy. I mean, we've certainly done that brilliantly. And number 5, the rise of the consumer society, which made industrial revolution worth it.
Well, they certainly closed the gap in both of those. In fact, life expectancy is longer now in Hong Kong than in the United States, and they do it a lot more cheaply. We now lead the world in expenditure on healthcare, not in outcomes. As for the consumer society, get this, of the 30 biggest shopping malls in the world, only 3 are in the United States. Our highly leveraged consumers are lagging behind even in the consumer society stakes.
Okay, and number 6 is the Western work ethic, my favorite one. You say it's rooted in Protestantism. I know something about that one, and they've learned it too, huh?
Well, this is one of the most fascinating things. If you look across the Western world, especially in Europe, working hours per year are dramatically down. The average South Korean now works 1,000 hours a year more than the average German. And even here we're working less, though it's partly involuntary because of unemployment and short-time work, whereas work ethics in Asia have soared.
Well, you say we're entering a new era in which there won't be a natural Western ascendancy that people like us sort of take for granted. Fascinating discussion with you, Professor Ferguson. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Gretchen.